New charging brick. It is the same form factor as previous gen. We've got a 96 watt charger, USB-C Thunderbolt 3 on the back, because inside we've got 100 watts in the new MacBook Pro, and that's the official quote-unquote largest size battery you're allowed to bring on an airplane. So traveling wise, obviously you want to work with this guy while you are on the go. Okay, the good stuff, we will get this packaging off. And when you take a look at this guy for the first time, the form factor hasn't really changed much. It's almost identical. I've got my 15-inch over on that side. We'll do a quick comparison soon. This guy is only 4.2 pounds and only a hair thicker. It's 16.2 millimeters, so very, very similar form factor or footprint to the 15-inch model. Obviously, the big changes are coming to the display. That was dramatic. And within a couple minutes, very Mac fashion, this guy is completely set up, and it's super simple. It does ship with Mac OS Catalina right out of the box, so you do have the options for, say, dark mode. And obviously the biggest thing that you notice, hence the name, 16 inches, is of course the display. It's got the same pixel density, 226, as the 15-inch. It gets up to 500 nits of brightness, which is also the same. The screen resolution is a tricky one, 3072 by 1920, so you are getting more pixels, and they've done that by shrinking down the bezel sizes. 25% on the top and bottom and 34% on the sides. So it still has the same form factor, the same footprint when you actually have both devices side by side. Say I've got my 15-inch here, and that bezel size is the biggest thing. So of course we've got an extra inch of screen real estate. An inch makes the biggest difference. So obviously on your desktop, you've got more screen real estate. So whether you are video editing, multitasking between different apps, you can get that extra inch of space. And the second big thing coming to the 16-inch was actually my #1 complaint of the older 15-inch. We now have an updated keyboard. We've moved away from the butterfly switches, and it now has the scissor switches found on the iMac Pro's keyboard. And the typing experience is just so much better in the quick time that I've tested it. Definitely way better than the butterfly switches. The throw on them is just bless. Thank you, Apple, for making that switch. I'm sure so many people will be happy about that. The other thing that makes a comeback is the dedicated escape key. I know developers will be super stoked. I'm not too big on that myself. I don't really use the touch bar. It still does have that. Of course, we have the dedicated Touch ID button on the right side, and we do have a big improvement to the speakers. That's really something that they wanted to push. It's got a 6-speaker sound system, and for its class, it is hands down the best laptop for experiencing or listening to multimedia, whether that is just regular music, you're watching movies, or you're gaming. They've also vastly improved the internal microphone, which is great for, say, YouTubers, people recording music. It's very similar to a dedicated USB microphone like a Blue Yeti, which is an industry standard. And if we look around the rest, we have the same Force Touch trackpad, nice and large, and of course peripherals. We've got the 4 USB-C ports, 2 on either side, and of course a headphone jack. And the next big thing, probably the most important for a Pro device, is the performance. And this guy is an absolute beast. You can spec this guy just like the 15-inch to 8 cores, an i9. The very first device that has 64 gigs of RAM, which is kind of ridiculous for a laptop. Graphics-wise, another killer, the Radeon Pro 5000M, and you can get up to 8 gigs of VRAM. And to top that all off, you can grab it with an 8 terabyte SSD. Definitely team overkill unless you are a real pro user, that you're crunching those 8K timelines, mixing songs with hundreds of tracks or instruments, being a professional photographer, editing photos with billions of pixels in real time. You might be looking at this device. It's essentially a mobile powerhouse workstation that you can take on the go. Pricing will start at the same entry as the previous 15-inch, so that's $23.99 and $27.99 respectively. And maybe the most important thing, the 16-inch is now fully replacing the 15-inch line, so as this video goes live, you'll no longer be able to officially grab this guy from the Apple Store. So if you did just buy it, hopefully you can still return it. If you can't,